episode number 1 of something that I've been thinking about putting together. First of all, let me introduce myself. Good evening. My name is James Simmons, and welcome to 28th, a podcast in a month in the life of me. And again, my name is James Simmons. I know I said that to begin with, but just felt like I wanted to repeat it just one more time, as I get into this first episode. And you might be asking, what is 28th? And very simply, today is my birthday. I was born on the 28th day of January in 1976. So today I celebrate my 45th birthday. And I've been messing around with this podcast idea for a while now. And I'm actually working on a different project, which is going to be cool. And I will be launching that pretty soon, getting some things lined up. But I also wanted to have something a little bit more personal, a little bit more raw, a little bit more uncut, a little bit more of the things that I go through on a day-to-day basis as a black man, as a black father, living in America, and what that means. And last year in March 2020, on the 16th, matter of fact, we got news that we will be doing a shelter in place due to the coronavirus, COVID-19 pandemic that has caused us to really stop. I think is even bigger than a pause, but we've literally had to stop a lot of things that we've been doing on a world stage. And I had got this idea at that point in time because it was very, very early and very new at this point, what was going on. And when we first started to hear about it, we started to hear about cases, and we would be at home for about 2 weeks period of time. And at that point, it was more like, we would reevaluate it and see if we can get back out to our jobs, out back in the public, day-to-day stuff that we do. And that's just what we thought was going to happen. And 2 weeks turned into 3 weeks. 3 weeks turned into 4 weeks. 4 weeks turned into 8 weeks. And here we are 10 months later, and in and out of different stages of shelter in place. Being able to go to restaurants, eating outdoors, being able to shop in the malls and things of that nature. And, like I said, 10 months later, we're at a different place, but we are still very, very impacted by this virus. We've just started to get the vaccine into the arms, into the bodies of folks. That's been a very slow process. We have a lot of work to do there. But I'll talk a little bit more, just what's going on. But again, as it relates to a thought that I had is like, I knew something different was amongst us. And at that time, I wanted to document it. And I got my camera, and I think I did 1 or 2 kind of episodes, not even episodes, but just documentation, a couple minutes of, we're in day 1 of this lockdown. This is what's going on, so on and so forth. And, at the time I thought it was like, hey, this is something to do, but those days, it didn't last long for me. it just was a lot of work. Not so much as getting the camera out and all of that, but just the uncertainty and so on and so forth. And I just stopped. And it is what it is. I got lots of lessons that I've learned from that time. Again, we're in a different place, a little further along. But I wanted to get back to just being able to document my journey. Because in 2020, so much happened. George Floyd murdered in the streets in Minnesota at the hands of police officers. And that really ignited just a movement of, I really can't describe it because it's something that I've had to deal with my whole life. You know, we see the injustice, the inequity. We see the disproportionate amount of, black and brown people losing their lives at the hand of law enforcement, speaking up, protesting, throwing our hands up because we're not being heard. And that just seemed to be the pattern. Incident happens. We talk about it. We protest it. Then it dies down. Nothing changes. And then someone else is killed. But there was it was something different this time. It wasn't just black and brown people hitting the streets, knocking on the doors of their representatives saying that something's got to change. The allies came, and more specifically, the white allies came, because this wasn't something happening in their neighborhoods, but now they witnessed it. And I really think because of this pause that we were in due to this pandemic, it shifted something, right? And this movement began to pick up speed and pick up pace. And we just got further and further along, in this movement for justice. People who haven't been exposed to this type of violence, or it kind of goes in one ear and out the other ear, because it's not your day-to-day living, your day-to-day life, began having more conversations, began to really want to know what can be done so that black lives really mattered, right? And part of my journey in 2020 was to participate in the facilitation of some groups to, help people along on their journey of understanding. Okay. One of the things I learned is that there's a lot of white people, and I live in an area, California Peninsula. The demographics, it's white people, and then everything else other, falls in between in the numbers. And when you don't have relations with folks on a day-to-day basis to understand their culture, understand what they go through, their heritage and things of that nature, their struggles, unless you've read it in the books, and then it's watered down. You just don't know. And that's one of the things I found, is that there's a lot of people who care, people who want to make a difference, that honestly didn't know. I'm not making excuses, but when you speak to people and some of the things in history books they don't understand, from back in the day, Black Wall Street, things of that nature, redlining, and not being able to put those things together and see how they still have impact on how things go today. It really opened my eyes, and it really led me to think that I need to continue to do what I'm doing as far as trying to be a bridge, trying to be that person who can connect folks to the things that they don't know. And all while me learning myself, you know. So that's been part of the journey in 2020, and, kind of what has been on my mind, things I want to talk about, and, how we continue to walk out lots of things with the pandemic. People who prior to COVID didn't have a care in the world, but now are losing jobs, aren't able to feed their families. A mortgage payment or rent payment away from not having shelter. Having to make decisions that they never thought that they would have to make just so that their family basic needs are met. Yet, that's been a reality for a lot of folks for a long time. Even when things were good, it was really, really not good for everybody. That's the inequity. And my hope and my prayer is that, as we get closer, and I think we're getting closer each and every day. That's my hope. That's my faith. That's the optimism that I bring to the things that I do, is that as we get closer to the other side of this pandemic with vaccinations and an understanding of what this virus can do and what we need to do to be ahead of it, is that I hope we don't forget all of those folks that have always struggled, right? Pre-COVID, pre-coronavirus, and that somehow we could come together as a people, as a country, to address all of those inequities, make sure our fellow man and woman, every boy and girl, has a legitimate opportunity, not just something that's rote, all men are created equal. Have the right to pursue happiness, not something that's just on paper, but something that is tangible, something that people can grab onto and say, I really do have a shot. The next man, it's not just about how much he can eat, but it's about how much we all can eat, because there's more than enough to go around. It's more than enough to go around. So that's some of the things that's been on my mind. And, one of the things I'll say by trade, I work in social services. I work with families. I work with fathers, worked with children that face many different obstacles in life of secure housing, income, education, opportunity. And, it's my desire to want to be at the table of someone you can partner with to get the resources, to get the training, the education, to get the mental, emotional, physical support that you need to thrive, to be successful, to be a contributor to your community and to others, to be an inspiration, to live this, what we talk about, the American dream, which is not at reach for everybody. And that's real. And we have to acknowledge that, have to talk about that, have to figure out how every boy and girl, every man and woman could be able to reach that statement, that goal that our forefathers had for each person. So in 2020, I had an opportunity, through my work to do some work that's really focused on fatherhood engagement. Something that I've been working on for many, many years, in bits and pieces, and putting it together and getting it ready, and just waiting for that opportunity, taking opportunities to do it, right? In the different walks, the different arenas, the different places that I'm able to, have some influence, different networks. And due to the pandemic, I had started some things, and it caused me to stop. So I had to go back to the drawing board and figure out, how do I get these services? How do I get what these dads need during this time? And we went to video. I reformatted information that I wanted to distribute, so that we weren't in long classes online and sitting behind a desk, behind a computer screen, burning out, doing it in a way that is engaging. So I've been able to work with the dads and get them the fatherhood curriculum and other things, financial education, fitness, just community that they need, that we need. I have a motto, fatherhood is a journey that you don't have to do alone. And during this time, a lot of people feel alone because we don't have the proximity physically. We get 2 dimensions when we are looking through a screen. And I love the technology, because the technology has allowed us to stay connected. It serves a purpose. But if I was to ask any of the dads that I work with, they would say, hey, in a heartbeat, I wish I can be with the fellas. I wish we can get to the park with our kids and have a good time that way. But we are doing the best we can. I'm grateful for the technology. And I think it's helped us bond in the beginning stages of the work that we want to do. So once we are able to get back together in person, we've already developed some continuity, rapport, some trust, some confidence in one another. So in that regard, I'm really thankful that we've been able to start this work. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Talk about my own journey on fatherhood. Got 2 beautiful little girls. A 6-year-old, soon to be 7. And then an 8-year-old that will be 9, a little bit later on in the year. So that's very exciting. And those are some of the things that I want to be able to talk about on this podcast and bring it to you. It's going to be a once a month show. It's going to drop on the 28th of the month. But my hopes, again, is to be able to just be me. To recap 30 days prior to the last episode of what's been happening in my life, in this world, and what I plan to do to move forward, to make impact, to contribute, to heal, to move forward, to motivate, to encourage. Be encouraged, be motivated, be inspired. It's a two-way street. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And, that number 28, significant. I was born on the 28th day of January. Each one of the months that we have has 28 days. This podcast won't go longer than 28 minutes. And when it's all said and done, we'll see what we have from there. First episode. More to come. It'll be polished. Or not. But it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And I hope you're looking forward to it as well. Again, this is 28th, a month in a life with me, James Simmons. Thank you.